Join 14,000 SCAR-certified members in Bermuda, and you can help reduce the risk of childhood sexual abuse. Become an advocate and a voice for our children. Get trained, get certified. We offer community and private sessions. Visit scarsbermuda.com to register for training. You'll also find valuable information and resources on our website. Visit scarsbermuda.com. Get certified today. SCARS, saving children and revealing secrets.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Survivor Hour. Thank you for joining us. I am Debbie Ray Rivers, and I am a survivor of child sexual abuse. I'm also the founder and executive director of SCARS, Saving Children and Revealing Secrets, a charity whose mission is to reduce the risk of child sexual abuse in our Bermuda community and to be an advocate and voice for children who've been sexually molested, as well as their affected family. I am joined on set with Dr. Alicia Hancock. Dr. Hancock is a clinical psychologist with decades of experience in child sexual abuse and a valued board member of SCARS. For those that don't know, SCARS Survivor Hour is a 1-hour cable TV show which provides our audience with much-needed awareness and prevention education around the topic of child sexual abuse, and it's from the lens of a survivor and the traumatic effects it can have on a child throughout their adulthood. This show is also meant to help viewers understand the emotional and psychological scars from survivors of child sexual abuse. Now, from time to time, we invite industry experts on this show to share valuable information about reporting, sentencing, investigating, and laws surrounding child safeguarding in our Bermuda community. And tonight, we are excited and we are extremely honored to have on set a Supreme Court judge. You know, we're calling this show Understanding Justice from a Justice. And we know that Supreme Court justices, they're the authority in the field of law and justice, and they bring decades of legal experience. Their decisions carry far-reaching implications, including setting standards that guide lower courts, lawmakers, and the public. And tonight's very special guest knows the law inside and out. He has spent years on the bench making some of the toughest decisions, and he brings a wealth of experience to our table and service to our community. We are honored and deeply grateful to welcome a true expert in the world of law and justice with over 20 years of experience as a magistrate and senior magistrate. In 2022, he was appointed puisne judge of the Supreme Court of Bermuda. I am thrilled to introduce the worshipful, honorable Justice Juan Wolffe. Welcome, Justice Wolffe. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for accepting my invitation. Very, very grateful. And our hope today is that we can understand justice from a justice. So welcome to our show.
Well, thank you for having me. Let me say, first of all, that the great work that SCARS has been doing over the many years has been noticed by not just by myself, but I'm sure by victims of crime and also persons who are in the legal arena. And I'm deeply inspired by your courage with your past and your ability and desire to come forward to assist those who went through the same sort of trauma that you went through. He who knows it feels it, and so. The fact that you're out there doing what you're doing is a credit not just to yourself, but also to other victims of crime. And so I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the monumental work that you're doing in this community. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And whatever I do pales in comparison to the work that you're doing. And Dr. Hancock, dealing with our most vulnerable persons in society, helping them get through that trauma is something which is desperately needed. It'd be nice at the end of all this that you can be cloned so that we can have more of you doing the work. And I'll speak more about this later on. I just think that we are bereft in this society when it comes to one, intervening, but also two, providing the necessary treatment that the victims of crime need to have. So thank you very much for your work. I'm in awe of both of you. And so any contribution I can make to the conversation, I'm humbled by the fact that I'm here today. So thank you for the invite.
Thank you.
And I hope that's going to be a productive conversation.
Yes. Yes, I think it will. I think it will. And for our community, I think it's just vitally important that our community know what it's like to be sitting in your seat. I'm going to start with what's been the most challenging part of what you do when presiding over cases of child sexual abuse, like balancing the need for justice with, sensitivity, which is required when it comes to these cases.
Yeah. I've been in the legal arena now for close to 30 years. I have been a defense counsel, prosecutor, magistrate, and now a judge. And I've dealt with all sorts of cases. I've dealt with some of the most depraved cases that Bermuda has known in any of those capacities. The most difficult cases that I deal with, or dealt with, even then and even now, are cases involving children and those who have been sexually abused. To this day, I've not been able to grapple emotionally with those types of cases. It's difficult.
Yeah.
It's extremely difficult. There's a saying, I can't remember who said it, but the saying is that the true measure of a society is how it treats its most vulnerable people.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Gandhi, I'm not sure.
No, it was from South Africa. Nelson Mandela.
Mandela said it. I should have known that. Mandela said that, the true measure of society is how we treat our most vulnerable people.
Yep.
Our seniors and our children.
Absolutely.
And so if we are supposed to be a democracy that's supposed to look out for our most vulnerable, then we have to have in place programs where we can address those sort of issues. And so, it is a difficult process. When we sit on the bench and deal with these type of cases, we're human.
Yeah, absolutely.
People think that we're, up there and we're aloof and we're just up there making, these clinical decisions. Mm-hmm. You can't help but deal with a case.
Yeah.
I prosecuted some of the most heinous sexual abuse cases in Bermuda, and I can tell you, it took a lot out of me.
Yeah.
It took a lot out of me. Yeah. And as a judge, there is that balancing act.
There is.
Right?
Yeah.
Between trying to ensure that an accused person has a fair trial.
Right.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
But also that justice is for the victims, for victims of crime. What we do from the bench is to ensure that the guilty are found guilty and that the innocent are found not guilty.
Right.
But a fair trial for a defendant is something we often focus on. But we also focus on a fair trial for a victim of crime.
Yeah.
So there's that balancing act that we have to kind of do. And it can be very difficult.
Yeah.
I get a lot of, it's a wrong word to use, but there's a lot of meaning for me to do these types of cases. But they are the most emotionally draining cases that I do. And no one talks about judicial well-being that often. But it's those cases that really test not just my legal resolve, but also my emotional resolve. Particularly when children have to go into the witness box and give evidence.
But we're changing that. That, like, the great thing, right, is how far we've come, because now we do that video conferencing, and I think we have come a long way in that regard. And I personally want to thank Cindy Clark, yourself, Justice Saber Williams, where now we do video conference. I will never forget when I went to court for the first time in this realm, and I sat in that courtroom and I couldn't believe this little girl was up on that in a box with her, looked like a little girl, and just a few feet away was the accused, and just being re-traumatized, because defense lawyers have their job to do. But it just affected me so much that I marched down and wanted to talk to the Chief Justice, say, what are we doing to children up here? But we've come a long way in Bermuda, and that's not happening anymore.
We have come a long way, and
You should be very proud.
I'll make a confession, which I have never made publicly before. But when I was defense counsel, I stopped doing sexual assault cases involving children.
Wow.
And I came to the epiphany. One day I was representing a gentleman. And again, this has nothing to do with whether or not he was guilty or not guilty.
Right.
Just make that
Right.
clear.
Correct.
Right.
But I was representing a gentleman who was accused of sexually assaulting a young little girl. It was my job, my role as defense counsel, to help him, put his case forward, and hopefully to be found not guilty. Mm-hmm. And so at that time, I had to cross-examine a little girl, who at the time probably was about 7, maybe. And she came to court.
Yeah.
She had her pigtails, with her barrettes on, and in her school clothes. And I'm a big guy. Mm-hmm. I'm not the smallest person. And I kind of knew that as well.
Yeah.
And I started cross-examining this young girl about what occurred. And I started to get a little bit strong with her, maybe even intimidating.
Yeah.
And I can see the look on her face. And mid-question, I said, "What are you doing, Juan? What are you doing?"
Wow.
Yeah. That's
Apart from whether your client is guilty or not guilty, how could you be treating this young little girl in this way?
yeah.
Wow.
And it was at that moment, 2 things happened. I asked for an adjournment. I went to my client. I said, "I cannot do this. I cannot do this."
That is huge.
And he explained. I said, "I just can't do this." And I said, "You're going to need to get another lawyer. I cannot put my."
That takes a lot of courage.
And I went back into the courtroom. I told the judge, for personal reasons, I cannot continue with this case.
Wow.
And I came off the case, and he got another lawyer, which he's entitled to do. And it was from that day I said, "I cannot do this." And so when I became a prosecutor, a few years later, I took an interest in doing these types of cases.
Wow.
And I felt that was my duty to at least to shield as much as I'm able to within the legal context.
Yes.
Shield these young victims of crime from these questions from some defense counsel that can be, and again, they're doing their job.
They are.
Yeah.
And the questions can be probing.
Further traumatizing, right? Would we agree?
And so that was for me a turning point in my life. And that does not remove my desire still to ensure that an accused person has a fair trial.
Right.
Of course.
But it makes me far more sensitive
Yes.
to what a victim of crime, not just a child, but any victim of a sexual abuse goes through.
Yeah.
And that was my personal growth.
Wow. That's amazing. No.
Yeah. Did you want to ask?
Well, I guess, in terms of just being a judge and, and you were talking earlier about how, you're all human, right? And so how do you cope in terms of, do you get debriefing? Are you able to, is there any of that going on so that you as judges can diffuse whatever cases have caused emotional
and court staff.
reaction?
It's everybody in those
Yeah.
courtrooms listening to these cases. It has to be affecting the heart.
Absolutely.
The short answer is no. We don't get any assistance in that regard. And we should.
Yeah.
We should.
Yes.
There is a level, and people don't really understand, there's a level of PTSD
Yes.
among
absolutely.
judges. There's a lot more conversations being taken now, not just in Bermuda, but also other jurisdictions about judicial well-being. Because when you are in court and you're dealing with these types of cases, particularly those involving children, they are very taxing emotionally and mentally. And as I said, when you're on the bench, people think that we're stoic and that we are, we've got to make these clinical legal decisions. But we are human, we are people.
Yeah.
And so when you come off the bench and go into our chambers, it is draining.
I bet.
Yeah.
The amount of times, not just in these types of cases, but where I've had to kind of hurl back
Right.
tears.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm
Right.
sure.
And hearing some stories, I could fill buckets
Yeah.
if I were to shed
Yeah.
a tear. And so I think that there should be more done around judges, court staff,
Yeah.
police officers,
Oh,
to
absolutely.
get the assistance that they need to help us
Yeah.
continue to deal with these sorts of
Yeah.
cases.
Yeah, because some cases can last a long time.
Well,
It's
it's-
not just, you're not just in court for one day.
But
It can,
but the case stays with, and for me, the way I deal with it, I suppose everyone deals with it in a personal way, right? Whatever emotion or mentally effect it may have on me, it pales in comparison to the trauma that the victims are going through,
Sure.
without a doubt.
right?
Sure. Yep.
We know.
And so that's kind of how I say, look, listen, you have to be firing on all 8 cylinders to ensure that the accused person and the victim has a fair trial, and you need to be in a good space to be able to do that, because whatever trauma or whatever I feel is minute
Yeah.
compared to someone, for example, who's the victim of historical sexual abuse, where they were, now 35, 40 years old, and this event happened when they were 10.
Yeah.
They have been suffering a living hell
Yeah.
for 25 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I may be suffering that sort of hell for the 2 weeks I'm in trial.
Yeah.
So there's no real comparison.
Well, and it's that balancing of, being practical and then having the human part of you, which is, the emotional side, the idea of adults, especially with children, we're designed to protect every child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be just incredibly difficult.
And I will tell you, we have a lot of adult survivors.
Yes.
And we've been seeing a lot of historical cases come before the court. As you know, myself, 45 years later, had to go in a courtroom and hold the person that sexually molested me as an 8-year-old little girl accountable 45 years later. But in that courtroom, surrounded by my friends and family, I felt like an 8-year-old little girl.
Yeah.
I was afraid. I was sad. I was intimidated. I was, and I'm an advocate, but it still affected me.
Yeah.
But I think it does help survivors at least feel like now I have my voice.
Yes.
I couldn't focus on the outcome of the case. I had to focus on, I'm going to use my voice today. This is being heard, and people are going to know, and it wasn't right what he did to me, But we don't always get that outcome.
Yeah.
As adult survivors don't always get the outcome that they're hoping for.
Right.
And
For me, it is a huge accomplishment, achievement, however you want to put it, for number one, a victim to go to the police to report.
Correct. Oh, that's
huge step.
Yep.
That's big,
That's courage.
right?
Beyond.
It is. It
That
is.
takes so much courage. And then you start thinking about this person has for years had probably every day.
Yep.
I tell a story. And I will say this here, as you know, I can't talk about current cases or cases I've done as a magistrate or judge, but I will freely talk about cases I've done as a prosecutor, because they are public knowledge.
Yeah.
So I was doing a case involving a teacher who had sexually assaulted about 8 or 9 girls at the school. And I was preparing for the case one afternoon, and I got a call from the reception saying to me that there's someone outside to see you. I said, well, I'm not expecting anyone. Who is it? She said, there's someone who really wants to talk to you. I said, okay, and it has something to do with your case. I said, fine. I brought the person in. She must have been about 40 years old at the time. And she said, you don't know me, but I just want to say something to you. And you're doing this case involving these 10, 11, 12-year-old girls. I want to let you know that he did the same thing to me
Wow.
when I was 10, 11, 12.
Oh my goodness.
And she, without discussing anything about the case,
Yeah.
she went on to describe what he did to her. It was exactly the same thing. Wow. That were the allegations that were with the young girls I was dealing with. And she said something to me which was very profound and made me think. She said that every day since it happened, and over the last 25 years or whatever it was, that every day she cried.
Wow.
Every day she cried. And she said to me that one of her biggest regrets, I'm starting to tear up right now when I tell you this story, because it just takes me back to when she told me. She said that her biggest regret, and one she cannot wrestle with still, is the fact that she never told her mother, and her mother passed.
Oh,
Wow.
gosh.
Yeah. Wow.
And so this stuck with her
Yeah.
for 25,
Wow.
Yes.
30 years.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's
It's a life sentence.
it is.
It is a life sentence for survivors.
It is. But the fact that she came
Yeah.
that day to say that to me, I hope it was something was cathartic.
Yeah,
I mean, I know they
yeah.
deal with a lot of the issues, but I think
timing.
it meant a great deal for her, I think,
Yes.
to be able to finally say,
Okay.
and as she was telling me, she is tearing up.
Yeah.
And she said, and it kind of like put into perspective why I did what I did.
Yes. Yes.
And it actually gave me much more vigor to prosecute the case.
Yes.
But I don't think society understands that level of trauma that people go to.
No.
I mean, can you imagine for, at that point in time, was most of her life, going through this sort of these hellish days, where every day she shed a tear.
Yeah.
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 I mean, there are scars left behind after sexual abuse, and which is why our work is so important in prevention, because this is preventable.
Yeah.
Let's never forget that. There are things that we can do to prevent this, but the scars are left behind. They are, and they fade, but they are reminders of pain every day. And that pain can look different, as we know, Dr. Hancock, in different ways. Some will cry, some will do drugs, some will have suicidal ideation, some won't be able to learn in school, some won't trust anybody in their life, right?
Yeah.
Some will hurt others and go down that road of crime. And I say that to say, I'm sure you've had people before you who were abused themselves when they were little and then hurt other people. But this is why we have to take this so seriously, because these are lifetime scars, and it makes it really difficult for survivors of sexual abuse, victims of sexual abuse, people who have been sexually violated as children, to then see a case where their accuser walks away with 16 months of a consequence. And we as survivors have a lifetime of consequence when we are little and we are sexually violated. That's what makes it difficult.
Right.
And I know we have a job to, go by the law and all that, but it's really hard for victims to not see that consequence that they were left with.
Let me see if I can assuage a little bit. Sorry, I don't want to monopolize the conversation.
That's fine.
No, that's good. This is good.
Let me see if I can. Okay, so let's start off with the fundamental legal and constitutional right that a person is presumed innocent until proven guilty.
Right.
Yes,
Let's
good.
start from there.
Yeah,
no matter,
let's do that.
Absolutely.
no matter
Absolutely.
what
100%.
is the crime.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So that's how the courts must operate.
absolutely.
That anyone who comes before us, a person who's guilty of heinous sexual assault crimes, he or she is innocent until proven guilty,
Regardless of the offense.
regardless of the offense.
Yes.
Okay? And that is fundamental to any Western democracy. It's a person's constitutional right.
And we have to have that.
And
I mean, that's critical.
And a person is entitled to
Yes.
due process.
Yes.
Okay? No matter the crime.
Yep.
Entitled to due process. We in the courts, I mean, that's sacrosanct. We in the courts must zealously guard that.
Yeah.
Okay? That does not mean, though, that we cannot zealously guard the rights of any victims of crime.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
It's got to be a balancing act.
Yeah.
It does.
Yes.
And so we ensure that the accused person has a fair trial and the victim has a right. So let's say now a person is found not guilty. It may be inconsistent with the truth is,
Right.
but it's the process.
Yeah.
A jury of their peers
Yeah.
made a decision of not guilty for whatever reason.
Right.
We don't get into finding out from juries why they made the decision.
Right.
It could be a plethora of reasons why. Apart from what I think about the evidence, the jury have said and jury has spoken.
Right.
And there's been some calls for judge-alone trials. I don't necessarily believe in that type of arrangement. We need, and this is why the work of scholars is so important, to help members of society, i.e., jurors, to understand how sexual abuse cases operate and work. That, you know what, a person may not report right away. That doesn't mean they're lying.
Correct.
A young lady wearing a miniskirt,
Thank you.
right?
Yep.
Doesn't mean that she asked for it.
No.
Thank you.
That no means no.
Exactly.
Okay? That just because a woman got a shower afterwards doesn't mean that she's lying.
Exactly.
That a child who cannot understand 5 feet distance or what time of day it was doesn't mean that they're lying.
Exactly.
Right? So these are things which members of society have to understand, so that when they do come into the jury box, they understand that, you know what, a young lady can get a ride on the back of a bike, but not necessarily want to have sex with the guy.
Right.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that, guess what? There's an age of consent.
Correct.
That a child who engages in a sexual activity doesn't mean that the guy is not guilty. Right?
Because children can consent.
But that's what I'm trying to say. So there is a level of education that your organizations are doing, which is vitally important. So that's the trial process, and there's a lot more I can say about the trial process as well. But we also got to ensure that, and as judges, that measures are put in place that when a child does come to the witness box, that they are given an environment upon which they can give their evidence in a way which is less intimidating and which they feel comfortable doing.
Yes.
Screens, giving evidence in another room, all those things will certainly help.
Yeah.
Help them get their story.
Because if they're seeing their perpetrator, how the heck are they supposed to be calm? I mean,
They
there
can't.
is just no way. And the other thing, Justice Wolffe, is the memory. It's trouble having what we ate for breakfast last week, and now we've got to remember details of pain and
It
trauma.
happened months, years
Yep.
ago.
Tough.
You're absolutely right. But again, these are things which us as a one society have to be educated on.
Yes.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to remember how long it took for this guy to touch me. I don't know if it was minutes or seconds. I don't know. I was traumatized. No, I didn't fight back
No, exactly.
because
He's bigger, she's bigger, more powerful.
for whatever reason.
And
So,
plus, not only that, if I can interrupt, sex feels good.
yeah.
It can be very confusing as a child.
Your body is your gun is going to
Absolutely.
respond
I
regardless.
listen, I've had multiple cases where young girls have loved the abuser,
Correct. Yeah.
have
Yeah.
Protected.
expressed that he's my boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like that's how they saw it.
They've been manipulated so much.
So they
to
say
believe
nothing.
that. Yeah.
And so, but again, society needs to understand that. But again, from the court perspective, we need to make sure that we create an environment upon which victims of crime can give their evidence. It is already traumatizing for them in a way which is just facilitates that.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving to sentencing now, right? There are sentencing guidelines that I, as a judge, have to follow. So if a person now is found guilty,
Yes.
right, there are a few elements to it. So we hear about precedents and authority.
Yes.
I cannot make a decision that's outside of the law.
Right.
So the law prescribes certain maximum sentences that I can give someone. Some people would like to know that I could, or what it want me to be able to just lock somebody up and throw away the key and put them under the jail. But I can't do that. Even if personally I want to do that, I can't do that. There are guidelines which I have to follow.
Yes.
There's law and precedent
Absolutely.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
have to follow.
Yes.
The thing would have to be, and there, the conversation has to be had is, okay, what can the legislature do to increase
Correct.
those sort of sentences?
Yes.
Which would give the courts the power
Yes.
to give more sentences.
And can
I
you
think-
give advice to the
Yeah.
legislators? Can you?
No.
Not really?
Well, there are separate arms of government. Certainly, we can give recommendations. Certainly, through my decisions that I make, I sometimes make those sort of pronouncements.
Yeah.
If I feel that it's something that should be done, and then it's up to the legislature to make that decision what they're going to do. But let me just move on to the sentencing aspect of it. So, I can give someone, I don't think that's the right conversation. And I'll tell you why. I can give someone 6 months, 6 years, 20 years.
Right.
Right? And that's fine. And it may assuage some people, right? But how's that going to help the person? We're going to spend $85,000, $85,000 to $100,000 per year.
Yeah.
Sentence, having someone at Westgate.
Yep.
Okay?
To just keep them away from society.
To keep them away.
From children.
They are going to be released.
Right, exactly.
We know with sexual offenders, particularly sexual predators, they don't think they did anything wrong.
Yep.
So they will spend their days at Westgate thinking that the system is against them.
Yep.
And they're not being
Treated.
Precisely. They're not being treated. So they're going to get out.
Yes.
And they're going to do the exact same.
Yeah, same risk.
If not with a vengeance, because they feel
Precisely.
that they've been harmed.
The conversation has to be a few things. Number one, mandatory treatment.
Yes.
And if you don't,
The most efficient, the best
Absolutely.
treatment available, which is out there.
We
do not have it.
don't have
whether it be here or overseas.
Overseas.
Right?
Here overseas, absolutely.
It has to be treatment.
Yes.
And that treatment has to be tied to,
Yes.
if you don't do treatment, you don't get parole.
Yeah.
And if you don't prove that the treatment was,
they don't see it. They have to
change.
test it.
Precisely. If you and so that if you don't go through these X, Y, and Z programs, you're going to do your full time that you've been given.
Yeah. Well, and the problem is no matter whether it's sexual abuse or even, any other crime, keeping somebody away from it without treatment, doesn't prove that they've changed or that they're not going to do it again, because you've taken away the urge.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no children in prison.
There's no children in prison.
Their urge is not in prison.
Precisely. And so, yes, I mean, I can lock somebody. First of all, I can't lock someone up for life. So I can lock someone up for 6 months, 6 years. They're going to get out.
Yeah.
They are.
And can I say, there is a program in the UK called the Healthy Sex Program that has been effective. And I just cannot.
What is it?
HSP. It's called HSP. We're in Bermuda for as much. I mean, somebody could call and let us know that we're wrong, and maybe this has changed in Bermuda. But we've been using the Sexual Offender Treatment Program (SOTP) at Westgate to treat offenders of child sexual abuse, and I think offenders who have raped adults. But we did a whole show on it with Dr. Eleni Belavanaki, who came to Westgate and explained that Bermuda needs to have the HSP, and I'm hoping that's going to happen. I really am hoping.
What are
that,
the
they have tests to determine how their mind has changed, and that they're recognizing these urges that are in their head that they want to do something to an innocent, powerless child. And there's tests, they have tests that they have to go through. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a forensic psychologist. I don't know how it works, but I know that it's effective in the UK. Why wouldn't we have it here?
So this is what I would.
And I think we're going to get it. I'm feeling positive.
This is what I would suggest, right, is, okay, fine. I can either lock someone up for 6 years, $600,000, potentially, to lock them up. So someone's going to come out and probably commit the crime again because they have not received the treatment.
Yes.
Okay. Why don't we be creative and say, look, listen, that's $600,000. We're still going to lock them up.
Yes.
Right? No question about it. I think there should be a punitive side to it. Right? But why don't we use money and set up these sort of programs so that one, not just the person who is locked up, right? But we know that the cases that come to the court are a fraction of the actual incident of sexual assault.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so
absolutely, because most don't tell.
My concern is not the guy who's in Westgate. He's locked away. He's not going to do anything. My concern is the guys who are not in Westgate.
Continuously get away with it.
Who are doing these things. We know that any person who comes to the courtroom with one victim, he's probably had 100 other victims.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Is he only just got...
They don't just wake up one day and go, I think I'll be sexually interested in a child. It's not that doesn't work that way.
Right. They've done it in various different gradations of severity before.
Yes.
And so I'm more concerned about the ones we don't know about.
Yeah.
Yes.
In the home,
Those are more dangerous ones.
Yeah.
the churches,
Yep.
Yeah.
in the workman's club,
Yep.
Yes.
That people would not suspect.
that people will not suspect, but are doing it.
Yep.
Right?
This is why we're trying to push.
We need programs in place that's going to educate. Listen, our society are some of the most condoning, turn a blind eye set of people that,
I agree.
a large percentage of people who come before the courts have done so reluctant, but it have had a history of their parents or their loved ones not believing them.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's has contributed to them taking a long time to make the report in many cases.
Yeah.
And so we know that there's a lot of turning a blind eye. Oh, you know Uncle so-and-so, he does X, Y, and Z, but you just stay away from him.
Stay away from
see?
him.
No, well, we got to deal with Uncle.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly right.
Well,
And so let's spend some money on dealing with those victims and perpetrators who we don't know about, who are not coming before the court.
well,
Yeah.
and it just seems like we just have like almost a multi-generational theme of shame within the family. So then we have so much denial.
Yeah.
And, there's the element of education that you brought up earlier, which is, yes, very important. But fundamentally, Bermuda, I feel like we have a problem with the belief system of how we approach situations. Like, I think case in point, there was a case and that was put in the paper, and I was reading the comments, which just sometimes blows my mind. But I was reading some of the comments, and it was just clear as day. You had comments of people saying, "Oh, well, have you seen the way these girls dress these days?" And I thought, oh my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
Like
I've had
the
calls.
fundamental issue with
Yeah.
people just
Yeah. Yeah.
We are
Calls to do awareness around the way girls dress. I don't care if a child begs an adult. I say it at every training
Well, exactly.
to rate me. It is an adult's responsibility to protect children. I don't care what a child's wearing. I don't care what a child says. I don't care what a child gives permission for. It is the adult's responsibility to protect
and
children.
to teach children right from wrong and what's right behavior and wrong
And if you come and tell me that my best friend has done something to you, I will do something about
Absolutely.
it. I don't care if I know them. I don't care if they're related to us. I don't care if that's our favorite aunt or uncle that buys you everything and buys our family everything and pays for everything. I don't care if it's my best friend. We will report this because it's against the law to sexually harm a child.
And how could you want a child to be sexually harmed or just even harmed in general?
But people stick up for their family before the victim.
I think it's a lot to do with shame. I think that the shame of admitting and having to come out with the fact that it's in their family. So it's ego-based, right? So there's a lot of fragility and egos that comes with the lack of program. So for instance, that program. So I find that unless the powers that be come up with the idea, they don't want to hear about or implement anything that they haven't come up with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we do prevention and awareness and education is to educate the adults in our community to say, this is not okay. This is what you have to teach your child about body safety. Prevention begins at home. It doesn't begin in the church or the school or the camp or the club. It begins at home. And I played a part as a mom of 2 kids. I did not have enough conversations with my children. I never said, if anybody ever makes you feel uncomfortable, I don't care who it is, even if it's daddy's best friend or mommy's best friend or grandpa, or uncle, whoever, you can come and tell me and I will deal with this.
And
we just weren't, and I was abused.
Yeah.
So I hadn't, it was just like, nobody touches your privates. It's very difficult to go to that place also as survivors. And if we have a lot of adult survivors, we have a lot of traumatized parents maybe who have not dealt with their own pain and, haven't been able.
And that's it. And I think even the layer beneath that, which we've talked about before, is if you don't have a good connection with your child, if you don't create an emotional, safe environment for a child to talk to you, you can't just tell them, well, you can tell me anything.
Yeah.
Let me know if so-and-so does, let me know if anybody does anything to you. That will not work if you don't have a solid connection with your child to begin with.
Or if they see you go crazy over somebody,
but
cutting you off in traffic, and they see that you go off your head, you think they're going to tell you about their best friend that's doing something. But I do want to ask this question before I forget. So if an offender gets out, does their time, gets out, gets caught again, so we pay another night, they go back in prison, and they get out. you know, I just, it boggles the mind of, obviously they're not receiving what they should at Westgate in terms of the treatment. And when they get out, what are their provisions? What are their license conditions? And how do you feel that if they get caught again, they don't go back to the court system? Because we already know that what the court system, it's delayed cases. You guys have so many cases on your plate with 2 courtrooms, you know. So why don't they just go? Would you support that, Justice Wolffe, that where if somebody has sexually abused a child and then gets caught again, they go directly back to prison. They don't go through the court system again. And what's the word called? Fill up your courtrooms again. Go right to prison.
So I'm going to push back a bit on the comment that, we try. Justice delayed is justice denied, and so we do try and get sexual assault cases before the courts as fast as we're able to.
Prioritize.
But what people have to understand is that, again, there are processes in the court that just have to take place.
Yes.
They just have to take place. There's a lot of stuff involved. Case management has to take place. And yes, we would do with having more courts, but that would not necessarily speed track these cases. But we try to do as much as we can to get these cases dealt with as soon as we're able.
Are we short courtrooms?
We are. I think we can do one more courtroom. Okay. That would assist us greatly in getting some of these cases. But we can talk about sort of the court diaries. A lot of cases that are important, equally important, which involve multiple defendants that take 6 weeks to complete. So yeah, we could do another courtroom. But to answer your question, first of all, if a person has done their sentence, that's it. Now, the court can do kind of like a hybrid form of a sentence where we say, well, number one, okay, you're going to spend 3 years imprisonment and followed by 3 years probation.
Yes.
Okay, which would keep the person within the system, keep them monitoring, but also order them to go to certain programs, psychiatric or psychological.
Can't be near schools, can't be near libraries.
They will be on a sexual register and all that sort of stuff, but you also can restrict their movements to various different places, right?
And we should.
However, if they were to breach that probation, then all the court can do is to lock them up for another period of time.
But they have to go back to court to get that time, right? With another lawyer.
But they have to go back to the courtroom because, again,
that's time consuming.
It's time consuming, but it's due process.
I know. How can
right? People have a right to have their say. Now, I may not agree with that say.
Well, what if we do that in the sentencing part? Why don't we say that in the sentencing? If you do this again, you are not going to come before the court. You're going right back to prison. In the sentencing, can't they write in the sentencing?
But how do you establish the person's done it before? Has done it again, sorry.
No, but if you do it again, I'm saying when you have a sex offender who has a sentence, you can say, if we find out that you have done anything to violate your license conditions, your probation, you're going right back to court. We're just letting you know now.
I accept that. But what I'm saying to you is that in order for us to establish that they did it again,
conviction,
there's got to be a process to get to that. You just can't say a person did it again and then, you got to go.
If they weren't allowed to be at a pool, and they had a condition that said you can't be around a pool, you can't live with children, you can't blah blah. And then suddenly someone sees them at the pool, takes a picture. That is a violation of their condition, right?
I agree, but you said did it again.
Right. You meant like sexually abused somebody again. So you have to be convicted again for that, right?
So if a person has breached any of the conditions which you set for them, yes, you can bring them back to court because they have a right to say that they did not breach. Now, they may be totally lying. They may be wrong, but it's a process that has to take place.
Well,
and it may even take 10 minutes to establish that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
In the UK, that happens. They take child sex offenders. They take pedophiles, child molesters. Whatever. They take that very seriously. And they're told.
No, they can be arrested and held in custody until such time that their hearing takes place.
Yeah.
For them to establish. So yes, that could happen. Right? So let's say, for example, right, a person breaches their bail or probation or whatever it is because they're around a pool of children, right? They can be arrested, held in custody at the police station. They then come before the judge who says, yes, that's what you're doing.
When will they come before the judge? That just depends on when you're available. It could take 3 weeks or no.
No. when a person's arrested, they have to be seen as soon as practicable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
Like
as soon as
Okay.
2 hours,
E-
48 hours.
No, before that.
Okay.
Even.
Wow.
Right? Like
Okay.
that day, it could be. It could be the next day.
Right.
If it's a Friday, it'll be Monday.
Right.
As soon as practicable. They're
Yes.
coming before the courts. The court make that determination. And again, it could take 10 minutes. And then they get sent to. But the person needs to have that ability to have their say, as to explain whatever. So let's say, for example, okay, you're not supposed to be at Whitney School.
Sitting on the wall outside of school with children.
Right. And they're brought into, I will hear then from the police and say, well, he was sitting on the wall. He may say, I was not sitting on the wall, I was on my bike and I was driving across. It may be a lie, I don't know. But I have to hear that. I may not accept one word he says, but I still have to hear it.
Yeah. Okay.
He may accept that he's sitting on the wall, right? But I still got to make my decision. Because if I were to skip that process, guess what's going to happen?
He's
going to appeal.
Yeah,
It'll
appeal.
be called by a
It's going to be
for
appealed.
decision.
It's going to go to the Court of Appeal, and the Court of Appeal rightly say, well, Mr. Wolffe, you did not give him the opportunity to have his say.
Right.
You breached his constitutional and legal right to have a say. Okay? Therefore, guess what we're going to do? We're going to release him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that 10 minutes that it will take for me
To hear.
to establish, nah, you're lying,
Yep.
right? And all that will take is that.
Okay.
And even if I cannot do it in 10 minutes, most likely he will be held in custody until such time that that hearing can take place. But the hearing has to take place.
Yeah.
I have
You
a.
understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, the difficulty we have, so when a person's on probation and they don't comply, now the court's got to make another decision, right? Do I lock them up for another period of time? The answer will probably be yes, okay? But they're still going to get out. And guess what's going to happen? When they finish that period of time, do you know what? There's not much I can do after that.
Yeah. And that's where we fall short, I think, on the island is just there's no, there is a lack of boundaries or even just a lack of accountability post that. So if people are leaving and they're back with freedom of the urges that they've always had, it just doesn't seem like, because there's so much repetition of the same, sexual abuse after sexual abuse case, that it just keeps happening.
Well, what boggles my mind, if something's working in another jurisdiction, why aren't we doing it?
Like what, for example?
Well, for example, the HSP program, the Healthy Sex Program.
I'm talking from the court perspective.
Oh.
Well, no, but that the treatment program is the bar.
Agree.
Is the bar.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if the powers
They
that,
have to do that in prison, and if they don't,
if the powers that
Agree.
be,
I'm with you 100%.
right?
I'm with you 100%.
and the life-
I'm talking though about what do you do if the person, from a court perspective, after they have served their time,
Yeah.
they have refused to take part in that program that you spoke about, so they've done the fullness of their time, they're going to get released.
Yes.
So why
but,
is
but
that?
the parole board has a place too in the UK. They have a part to say when they come before the parole board to say we don't see where through this program that you have
That you've
and
completed it,
So
yeah.
back in, you don't get out until we see, because we have to think about this is changing a life forever. We're not talking about a drug addict or somebody who steals or somebody who's even murder. This is with anger, whatever comes with those. This is changing a life forever. Never to be the same. The risk is too great.
I'm with you 100%. We're on the same page, right? So let's say all that happens. Parole board says, look, listen, you're not done what you're supposed to do.
Right.
You got to serve your full time. And let's say that full time is 5 years.
Yeah.
And the person does their 5 years. They do it.
Because that's what their sentence was.
That's what the sentence
Yeah,
was.
so the
5
sentencing
years.
has to increase. The sentencing has to increase for
Right.
child sexual cases.
What we cannot do as the court and what the parole board cannot do is to say, well, you've done your 5 years, but guess what? You have not taken part of the program, so you're going to do another 5 years.
So that's a legislation then issue, right?
Another 5 years.
Yeah.
That's a legislative
Right. It is.
situation.
It is.
So
It is.
on the front end, the legislature has to, in their infinite wisdom, needs to put into place laws and things to be able to say, look, listen, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, your sentence could be this.
Correct.
Or if you do, in America, they have kind of, you can do 5 to 10 years.
that they give
a range, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you do the program, you can do 5 years. But if you don't do the program,
Yes.
You're
you're
full
gonna,
time.
Yeah.
you're going to 10 years.
Yeah. Make your choice.
Yes.
Make your
Right?
choice.
It's,
Yeah.
on you, it's on you, Dre, what you want to do.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's where we do need some.
Yeah.
I saw our friend stand up. I think he's trying to cut us off. But let me just. No, you go. So my point is that there's a finite period of time for a sentence,
Yes.
Correct.
right?
Yes.
And so you cannot perpetually keep someone in prison.
Yes. I get that.
You
I
can't do that.
totally
They're
get
all
that.
going to be released, whether I give them 6 months, 5 years, or 10 years. They're going to be released at some point in time.
Yeah.
How do we protect society after that?
Was right. And the time is not, and the time we know is not going to cure all ills or any.
Correct.
No.
The person's probably going to still be the same
mindset.
hardness you said
Yeah.
after 10 years. The question for us is, as a society, is what's going to happen to that person upon release
Yes, exactly.
from custody?
Yeah.
That's the concern.
What are we going to be able to do to kind of keep tracks on this individual to ensure that they do not?
And let them know they're being tracked, because I think.
And this is where I think this is where it's a societal issue.
Yeah.
Because as a society, we have to be able to say, hey, so-and-so, I saw so-and-so around so-and-so, report, or whatever the case may be, to the police or whoever, right? Be more educated about these sorts of individuals and what, listen, let me choose my words carefully. But I've had multiple cases where sexual offenders have gone from place to place to place.
Yep. Yep.
Okay? The place that they were at knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
And then he went to another place,
Yeah.
Yeah.
another place.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like, a place where children were.
Yeah.
And nobody said anything.
It's accepted, right?
Well,
It's just.
But not just that.
Yeah.
The place that he's leaving gives a reference to the place he's going.
Oh my gosh.
And they knew he was a child sex offender.
The place where he's the place from where he's leaving. Let him go. How does that happen?
Well, maybe they wanted to get rid of him. They didn't want him in their place, so they just
Let me put him in another institution where it'll be a risk to
Right.
kids.
Yeah.
And so
This is why background checks are.
that's not a court. Like,
Yeah, that's a society issue.
That's a society
issue.
We all play
and
a
so
part.
people think that the courts, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot of things that we can't do in the courts.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to justify anything. There are a lot of things that we can do. There are a lot of things that we need to look at, so on and so forth, right? But the courts are not the panacea
Yes.
of the problem.
No, I agree.
The courts are not going to be the way to solve the problem.
Right.
My job is to ensure fair trial and to lock people up for a period of time that's reasonable under the law. That's my job.
Yeah.
Okay? Let me tell you where I think we as a system, I'm talking the criminal justice system, have failed. Right? And again, I know we spend a lot of time on the perpetrator, and we should. We don't spend enough time on the victims of crime.
Right.
And so where the system has failed, and when I say the system, I'm talking about the criminal justice system, the courts, prosecution, defense, probation, the whole sort of system. We fail because we don't do anything for victims of crime.
Yeah.
When I was a prosecutor and I prosecuted these cases, I did the case, got a conviction, and what I do? I just moved on
To the next.
Yeah.
to the next case. The victim has done their part, has shown their courage, has done what they're supposed to do, right? I don't see them ever again.
Yeah.
The system does not see them ever again.
They just get used in the court system.
Precisely. Why haven't we, as you say, look, listen, we're not going to take care of you, right? Not as a reward,
No.
but we know that you went through, not, first of all, the trauma of being sexual, but also you went through another trauma by giving evidence in court,
Yeah.
right? How can we assist you
Yeah.
and a program in place to deal specifically for victims of crime,
Yeah.
to give them the psychological or psychiatric intervention that they need so they can deal with it. I've had women in the box say how, look, listen, the last 15 years have been hellish for them, using drugs, suicidal ideations, and so on and so forth.
Self-destruction.
And guess what happens? But thank you very much for that. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Conviction. Wait a minute. She just told you
Yeah. And so are you
what she's
They
going
just get
through.
used and discarded.
So do you think
essentially.
the answer is
It's like-
free counseling? That we need
course.
to have a
Yeah,
fund
absolutely.
of free counseling for children and adult victims of
course.
child sexual
Of
abuse,
course.
and a roster of psychologists that can help, because healing comes in
Absolutely.
many forms.
I would rather.
Because
I'd rather take that $100,000. Right? We're gonna lock them up anyway, but let's take some of that money and give it to whoever so they can get the assistance that they need.
yes,
And so that's where the criminal justice system has failed. We have failed victims. Listen, we're going to do everything that's necessary for perpetrators of crime. Okay? We're going to ensure that they have a fair trial. We're going to ensure that justice is done, that their constitutional and legal rights have been met. We're going to make sure that happens, all right? We're going to go to the nth degree to ensure that it happens. Anyway, let's provide that same sort of energy upon conviction for victims of crime.
yeah. But what it makes,
And not just conviction, even after a trial.
yeah.
Well, and the earlier the better.
But what it does is, but I think in a way, I hear what you're saying, because I had to get both of my children help,
Yeah.
2 victims. So I know what that means, and myself. And I know the Family Center does an amazing job in free counseling for children, and the Women's Resource Center for adult victims. They have that ability there. And yes, we need to fund them more, because they'll have to hire more people to help more victims, right? But, you know, this is what saddens me and angers at the same time. The perpetrator caused the pain. They caused the pain. What do they walk away with? Just like 16 months in a prison?
Freedom.
They caused a child's life to change forever. There needs to be some financial responsibility on their part. They changed a family, a child, the entire life. What they walk away, they spend 2 years in prison, they get out, they have some license conditions, but if they do it again, they're changing the lives of these children and these families and our society. Their punishment needs to be, in my opinion, a little bit severe. Now, let's talk about mental illness, people who suffer with mental illness that commit crimes.
Before you get there,
But-
when you talk more severe in terms of the length of sentence,
Well,
or something
how
else.
do we hold them? How do we really hold a perpetrator who has changed the life of a child forever accountable?
Well,
I know we need to take care of our victims.
So there's 2 ways, right? One, again, there is the prison sentence, whatever that may be, right? And I've already explained that the courts have to follow sentencing guidelines. And so when you talk about that 16 months, that 16 months is most likely because that's what the law tells us that we should do, right? We cannot take a 16 months and say, well, my personal feelings that you should get 5 years and take your pride.
Yeah, of course.
We have to follow the law. Okay, cool. Now, what I think, if you're talking about continuing with the punishment, is to
Consequence. I don't like to use the consequence.
consequence, maybe it should be a financial consequence.
Correct. Yeah.
That once a person is released from prison, and not just to leave it to victims of crime to take a civil action, but maybe there should be some sort of compensation, reparation, or whatever the case may be, particularly those individuals who have done their 16 months and they're going back to do their work, wherever that may be.
Yeah.
They may even have a financial source. They may have a financial stream. They may have savings, right? That there be some
Yes.
efforts being made to at least hurt their pockets.
Yeah.
And I even
As clinical as so,
Yeah.
but you're looking at the imprisonment aspect.
well, and
but-
how punitive is our actual prison compared to other jurisdictions is my,
Right.
when you see all the things that have been happening, to me it just doesn't seem
Well, prisons have to be humane.
well agreed.
Okay,
Yes, of course.
I mean,
But-
they got to be humane, and I get it, right?
It's the treatment more
There's
than
the argument that listen, this guy did this heinous thing. He's getting 3 square meals a day when I can't even pay my rent. I get it. I get it, right? But we have to ensure that we treat people in humane ways. I do think that the consequence that you speak of can be dire in other ways
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Okay? So, for example, you're restricted from having certain jobs.
Exactly. Exactly.
When you get out of prison, you can't do this. Or, listen, when you get out of prison, you can't apply for a passport. Or when you get out of prison, you can't obtain a driver's license because you got, that's how you got around.
Restriction.
So, when you get out, there are only certain areas you can go. So there are other ways which the consequence
Yeah.
that you
Can
speak about
continue.
can continue after prison.
Yeah.
And that's what I think we should focus
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
Because the sentencing that we give, again, is in accordance with the law tells us we can do,
Right.
number one. And the person's going to be let out anyway. So the question is, what's going to happen and how's that consequence going to continue
Yes.
Accountability.
after they get out of
Yes.
prison?
And if
And
there's
if I-
somebody, if there's somebody that that has a job and can make money, then they should pay. They should help pay for that victim's therapy.
I agree 100%.
And if you hit the family, then sometimes we have to stir the pot in order to make change.
I agree 100%. Especially if that person is a recipient of a will,
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
right? Like there could, just like they go through, bankruptcy proceedings where they delve deeply into your,
Yes.
there could be provisions
Yes.
again in place to say, look, listen,
Yes.
because I tell you,
Where it impacts their future.
let's be frank, let's be real, right? The perpetrator is not the guy coming out of bushes who's harmless
No, exactly.
and going to be and got no money.
It's not obvious.
The vast majority of perpetrators are not in that. They are people who work, have assets, have a financial stream, right? So there should be provisions in place. Say, look, listen, you did your 3 years, but
Yes.
this is going to continue, Dread.
Yeah.
And we're going to have things in place to ensure, oh, you're working now? Okay, well, look, listen, $500 per month is going towards this.
Correct. Agree. I love that. I
Absolutely.
love that. Yeah.
That is, again, and for me, that attends to the need to deal with the very real presentation of trauma in
Yeah.
those victims.
And you can't get your will changed. You can't get your will changed during the 2-year process of
All of that.
court.
Correct.
You cannot.
No.
The family members of the perpetrator want to make sure they're going to be taken care of.
Correct.
So we have to make sure there are safeguards in
So
place. That's nothing to deter that.
Precise. So there are ideas in place which I think can achieve the same, right? And guess what? It will never, ever fully assuage the victim of crime. That's going to be with them for the rest of their life, right? But I think it will give some modicum or some semblance of justice
Yeah.
if the person has done their time,
Yeah.
but also continues to have their wrong deeds impacted upon them.
Yeah.
Until they die.
For their future, exactly.
And that the money's going to be provided, and not just for psychiatric needs, right? We know that the trauma that sexual abuse victims go through affects their job.
Yes.
It affects them.
Everything
affects them economically, right?
It affects
Yes. How do
everything.
you?
But some of them,
And you're triggered.
some
You
of
live in
them
Bermuda,
don't.
you're
Some of
being
them
triggered.
don't. Some of them don't have jobs because they can't cope.
And many are not able to have healthy relationships.
Precisely. And so, if you are saying that listen, if you
Right, so serious.
if you get in an accident, right, and it's your fault, the victim, who has been, let's say, a quadriplegic or whatever, right, has been injured, they can sue you
Yes.
for not just your medical bills, but your also future earnings
Correct.
because of your inability to work. That's
They caused
that's a
that.
physical injury.
Right.
We got to apply the same
Emotional.
mindset
100%.
to emotional and mental
Correct.
injury.
Correct.
Yes.
Agreed.
And so,
Yes.
if you commit a sexual assault on a victim that's caused that victim emotional and mental harm and damage,
And it will.
the courts should be able to say, well, you are entitled to financial
Yes.
compensation
Yes.
for future earnings
Right.
Yes.
because we accept
Yes.
that just like if you break your leg and it's mangled, that you can't work on construction no more. But guess what? If you're emotionally scarred by a sexual assault, you may not be able to do that job on an IB.
Yeah.
You may not be able to do that, or if you can,
Yeah.
you solve some issues.
That validates
But what happens?
And so have something in place which
Yeah.
says, we're also going to treat your mental issues the same way we would treat if it was like physical injury.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
And that it continues on. So, yeah. So
Ask a kind of a quick question. You know, when it comes to bail, because I see quite a lot of the issues.
did I answer a lot of these questions?
Yeah.
You know, it just sometimes feels like, you know, some of the potential perpetrators are dangerous enough to be charged and prosecuted, but they're not dangerous enough to be denied bail.
Right. So, again, so a person it all gets back to what I started with.
Right.
A person is presumed innocent until proven guilty. There's also the Bail Act, which speaks about everyone has a right to bail. There are certain conditions. So you will find that persons who are even in charge of murder have received bail. Okay? So everyone's entitled to bail. Now, that changes if the person has previous convictions. You could say, well, I'm going to deny you bail because there is a risk that you're going to reoffend.
Pattern.
Yeah. So they are, but if you're talking about a first-time offender, most likely they will get bail.
Regardless of the risk that we don't know about until we try it.
There are conditions
There's a
you
huge
put in
risk.
place that, for example, you don't have any conversation whatsoever with the victim. That creates some problems where the victim is in the same household
Yeah.
as the person. So there may be things that you can place electronic monitoring devices on the individual.
Yeah.
If anybody's
Their
monitoring
thing.
them, yeah.
But in most cases, a person who's come to the courts for the first time, because when you're granting bail, there's a few things. One, is the person going to abscond? If there's concern that they're going to leave the island, or they're not going to show up in court, or they're going to reoffend, right? Those are reasons why bail could be denied. But if those things don't exist, then a person likely will receive bail, no matter how heinous the crime may be.
Well, and that's, I guess,
And that's the law.
when it comes to children, it feels like there should be kind of maybe
A little bit more serious.
a separate
rule for those that commit crime against
because children can't protect themselves, and
No, I agree
adults
But,
can.
but hopefully that concern can be alleviated by placing very strict conditions. So the court has the power, for example, to order house arrest. A person can't leave the house.
Right.
But again, the fundamental thing is that we cannot treat a person. So let's say, for example, right, that we bail a person. I'm sorry, we remand a person in custody.
Okay.
And it's until the trial comes around. And the trial doesn't happen for a year or a year and a half, which is possible, right? As it goes through the process. And then after a year and a half, the person is found not guilty or the complaint is withdrawn. Those things, right? So now a person would have spent a year and a half in prison for something that they didn't do from a legal perspective.
Yeah.
Right? That creates some possible human rights issues, right? So the courts are always mindful of these sort of things. Now, we have no difficulty. Let me make it very clear. If you're talking about a repeat offender who has committed an offense, they most likely will be remanded in custody until their trial is heard. But that's because they are a repeat offender. It's those first-time offenders that the court's hands are very much saying, you know.
Yeah, I want to get a question in before we end this.
And it was till 5 minutes.
Okay, I just want to get a question in. I really want to get this question.
Go for it.
By the dictator.
A repeat offender.
Yes.
Do you think a repeat offender should be able to live with children, whether it's their own children or their stepchildren or their nieces or nephews? Do you think that a repeat offender should be allowed to live with children? Would you support that?
And let me just qualify it a bit. They have committed an offense against children?
Yes.
I'm pausing because I have a personal view, and I'm just trying to think what the legal view would be.
Yeah.
I'll tell you my personal view. The answer is no, I don't think they should be.
Can we write a law against that? How do we get a law written against that? You are not allowed to live with children. And the other question...
My legal thing is this, and I still do believe in the spirit of rehabilitation. So the question for me would be this. Can the law say in circumstances where it is demonstrable that a person is rehabilitated to further curtail, no, they've been through the court, they've been through the programs you talk about, they successfully completed those programs. Should there be a restriction for the rest of their lives of not being around children? And that's a thorny issue.
Would you allow them to babysit your grandchild?
No, but that's a personal view.
Well, and I think
I wouldn't.
But it's a risk.
Well, and I think too, like
I agree.
I know you agree with me personally.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
But again, I have to balance my personal
Yes, I understand.
and the legal side of
Yeah.
it.
Well,
right?
and I kind of see it as, you know, if an alcoholic comes out of treatment, you know, they're encouraged to stay away from alcohol,
Right.
because it's too tempting.
Yeah, they wouldn't work in a bar.
And so how do we believe or think that, even again, law or not, that it's okay, or that an offender is not going to be tempted with a child living in their personal space?
I'm with you.
Should not be happening.
It's a vaccine question.
Yeah, I get
It's
it.
a vaccine question.
Yeah.
And I know that it's one of those questions you just can't give a hard and fast decision on. I see definitely merit in it, of course, no question about it. But when you look at the legal layers to it, I think it's a much more complex answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, the whole ethos behind the criminal justice system is to punish the guilty, but also to rehabilitate the guilty.
And maybe
We're not doing that in Bermuda.
Well, and maybe the money would be better spent sending sexual abuse perpetrators abroad to a program that actually
for child sex offenses.
Yes.
I agree. If we're not going to give it to them here, they need to go abroad. And the other thing that I have realized doing this work is that those that commit sexual crimes against children are allowed to legally change their last name or legally change their name. How could that be? How can a released child molester, someone who could... I didn't know
that, but obviously it seems to me to try to circumvent the sexual register, which should not be allowed.
It should not.
Absolutely not.
And so I don't know, if that's what's happening, one would think that, every law you make must be effective, right? And so if you're going to have a sexual register in which a name is placed on that sexual register, that person should be barred from changing their name, because in order to do so, will get around that whole sexual register.
Yeah.
So one would think that within is it the Registrar General's office, wherever it may be?
It's the AG's chambers, I think, holds the sex offender register.
No,
right?
I'm talking about whoever the
registrar.
The registrar.
Yes.
Whoever does that, there probably should be some police check or something, or some correspondence with the court to say, look, listen, this person's asking for their name to be changed. Are there any criminal convictions that we need to know about?
Right.
And also, are they on the sexual offenses?
Right.
So I don't think it should be allowed.
Okay. And then my last one is the sex offender register. Do you know whether that a name can be expunged from a sex offender register? Can a name be expunged after 10 years, or did we used to do this and now we don't? For good behavior, for whatever.
No reoffense or whatever.
Yeah. Can a name be taken off a sex offender register? That an official sex offender register.
I don't know the answer to that. I don't remember reading that in the legislation. I'm not saying I can check very easily if that's the case. But my view is that it should never be removed.
Right.
Okay.
That's my
Agreed.
because again, and what would be the criteria to remove it?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
What is it based on? What is it based on?
It can't be just time.
No.
Because the person is waited out.
No, their belief system hasn't changed
So,
over time.
If it does exist, I'd like to see provisions in place that says only under these circumstances can it happen. And there have to be some very extensive circumstances for that to happen. And I've not seen that.
That's a reward, in my view. It's a reward.
I agree. And so one would think that there, and I like to think that there isn't. And if there is, that we probably should need to look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. I feel like I want to say thank you so much.
There's been a lot of positivity, right?
Yeah.
But
yes.
I do want to finish.
And information.
I do want to finish on a positive note. We're all very passionate.
Yes.
And what's clear from I think this conversation is that our passion, while we have our different sort of roles to play, we want one thing,
Yeah.
and that's justice for our young kids.
Our children.
And as I said from the very beginning, these conversations have to be had. They're difficult conversations, but they have to be had. But I think that we have come a long way in the court system. I know you've provided training, and we'll continue to provide training to help us understand, as judges, what are some of the complexities involved in sort of the victims that you come before the courts. And so there is a lot of that's been going on. The work that you've been doing is making a big difference, is making a huge difference. Listen, things have gotten better from when I was that lawyer I spoke about who was berating this young little girl who was on the stand. My own personal maturation has taken place. And it's not just me. I think it's many other people who've done that. So the work is revealing results. The result. We still got work to do. We still got work to do. And clearly from our conversations, there's still work to be done. But we cannot diminish the courage, the inspiration that we gain from victims of these heinous.
Absolutely.
And if we just continue to look to them for that, then we continue doing the work that we do. The courts are going to do certainly what we can. We're always going to look out for the rights of the individual, the perpetrator. We need to do more work to look out for the rights of the, and I know that the AG's chambers are looking at special measures type of legislation that's in the UK. And at some point in time, I'm
so excited about that.
I mean, you've seen the courts with the judges. I mean, we get it. We get it. Justice sometimes doesn't happen like that. It can be an evolving process, but I think we're evolving in a positive direction. And we're going to get, I can assure you, we're going to get to the point. I think we're already there mentally, but legislatively, we're going to get there. Through us collaborating. And I'll just finish by saying that all the stakeholders need to get together. The courts, SCARS, the mental health professions, the police. We need to get together, and AG's chambers, DPP's office, Defense Council. We need to have a think tank around us being able to put forth, because we're all in little silos. We need to now take our passion and sort of coalesce
Collaborate.
And get together and figure out a way forward, not just for defendants, but also for victims of crime. And I think that we're a small community, and we can do that. Again, there's work that needs to be done, and I think there always will be work to be done. The education piece is important. You have no idea of the impact you've had in changing the paradigm, changing our mind about how we look at these sort of offenses. So continue the work you do, and of course continue the work that you do. So I'm encouraged. I'm encouraged. I'm
grateful.
I'm encouraged by the work that we're doing. We can do better, and we will strive to do better. But I think we're doing pretty good. There's a lot more we can do. We're going to get there. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
so much. So much.
Join 14,000 SCAR certified members in Bermuda, and you can help reduce the risk of childhood sexual abuse. Become an advocate and a voice for our children. Get trained, get certified. We offer community and private sessions. Visit scarsbermuda.com to register for training. You'll also find valuable information and resources on our website. Visit scarsbermuda.com. Get certified today. SCARS, saving children and revealing secrets.